Welcome to Night Chemistry, your midnight laboratory of calm. Settling into elemental calm. Ease back, let the evening hush settle like soft velvet over your shoulders, and invite one slow breath together. Breathe in to the count of 4. 3. Hold weightless and still. 3. Exhale gently for 6. And 3, 4, 5, 6. Feel tension rise and drift away, buoyed upward as if by an invisible balloon. Now picture the newborn universe a few 100,000 years after its first flash of light, dense with glowing hydrogen but already nurturing a rarer treasure. From the hush of primordial fusion comes helium, 2 protons and 2 electrons cradled in perfect balance, like a tiny lantern of pale gold adrift in endless dark. As you breathe, imagine yourself floating beside enormous clouds of this element, lit from within by the faint blush of starlight. The clouds feel lighter than dreams, so airy that even gravity seems to hesitate. Each inhale draws that luminous gentleness into your chest. Each exhale releases the weight of the day. Before you, the periodic table appears like a floating stained glass window. Near its upper right, glowing with soft amber, shines the noble square He. Helium's calm radiance steadies the mind. It neither clings nor corrodes. It simply drifts serene and untamed. Let another breath rise. Inhale the cool lift of helium. 3. Hold, letting that brightness suspend inside. 3. Exhale, and feel your thoughts rise like lanterns into clear night. And 3, 4, 5, 6. Shoulders loosen, jaw unclenches. Heartbeat softens to a quiet metronome. Float here a moment longer, buoyed by the element that gives stars their glow and balloons their effortless climb. When you are ready, let consciousness rest on the gentle amber light of He, and know that our deeper journey into the breath of the sun is about to begin. Discovery 1.1 Who first revealed helium? Close your eyes and picture a blazing midsummer sun suddenly cloaked by the cool onyx disk of the moon. It is August 18, 1868, and on a dusty plain near Guntur, India, the French astronomer Jules Janssen peers through a brass spectroscope as the solar corona flares into view. Among the familiar rainbow bars he spots a single, brilliant, gold-yellow line no earthly element can explain. Half a world away in London, Joseph Norman Lockyer receives word of the eclipse results. He rushes to his own rooftop observatory, trains a newly built spectroscope on broad daylight, and sees the same lonely spectral fingerprint. Convinced it belongs to something entirely new, he writes to the Chemical Society the next morning, christening the element helium, from helios, the Greek word for sun. Janssen and Lockyer have never met, yet their twin observations weave the element into human story. Two minds separated by oceans, united by a slender thread of golden light. Breathe in for 4 counts, as though drawing sunlight itself into your lungs. Hold 3, 4. Then let the breath slip away like eclipse shadow across quiet fields. 1.2 When the element emerged from silence. For nearly 3 decades helium remained a ghost of the sky, seen only in solar spectra and the tails of certain stars. Chemists searched every mineral cupboard on Earth, listening for its spectral whisper, but silence reigned. Then, on a drizzly March morning in 1895, Scottish chemist Sir William Ramsay chips a fragment of the uranium or clevite into a glass flask. He adds acid, warms gently, and watches bubbles rise. Passing the liberated gas through his spectroscope, Ramsay beholds the same golden line that crowned the sun. In that moment, helium descends from the heavens to the benchtop. Its birthday on Earth forever marked March 26, 1895. 2 years later, Swedish chemists Percleve and Nils Langlet confirm Ramsay's finding, isolating liters of the gas from thousand-year-old lava. The once celestial stranger now dwells in volcanic vents, uranium ores, and pockets of ancient natural gas. Let your next breath track that long descent. Inhale through distant star-crowned silence, pause in the hush of Victorian laboratories, Exhale into the ordinary night of your room, where helium may drift unseen among dust motes. 1.3 Conditions and circumstances of discovery. Imagine the post-eclipse camp at Guntur. Canvas tents flapping in humid wind, hand-blown glass prisms glinting under makeshift awnings, scientists scribbling by lantern light while banyan trees rustle overhead. Jansen's spectroscope, little more than lenses, slits, and a triangular shard of optical glass, reveals an unknown element because the sudden blackout of an eclipse peels away the sun's glare, exposing corona and chromosphere like glowing lace. Shift to Lockyer's Kensington rooftop. Chimney smoke drifts among slanted slate roofs. Omnibus wheels clatter below. He mounts his spectroscope and winches open the dome slit. Through city haze he isolates the sun's light, filters out familiar sodium lines, and finds the D3 signature still blazing, a proof so compelling he names the element before breakfast cools. Victorian London bustles beneath, unaware that a new member has joined nature's alphabet. Now step into Ramsay's Edinburgh lab. Shelves sag with mineral samples. The scent of sulfur and varnish mingles in cold air. A thin platinum tube leads gas from the reacting ore to a flickering detector flame. When Ramsay sees the spectral line, he methodically collects more clevite, purifies the evolved gas, and measures its density, finding it lighter than every gas but hydrogen. Helium, once thought impossibly rare, turns out to seep in quiet exhalations from radioactive rocks everywhere. Across the Atlantic, prospectors drilling for oil near Dexter, Kansas, strike a pocket of gas that refuses to burn. In 1905, University of Kansas chemist Hamilton Cady identifies it as nearly 12% helium, a discovery that will one day fill weather balloons, MRI magnets, and children's laughter. Breathe once more, slow in, slow out, and picture these scenes stitched into a single tapestry. Eclipsed sun, London rooftop, uranium or fizzing in glass. Each thread glows the same honey gold, the color of helium's spectral line. Let that glow settle behind your eyes, soothing thought and muscle alike. Helium's journey from sky to stone is complete, and our own journey drifts onward, buoyant, bright, and breath-light. Properties and presence. 2.1 Key physical and chemical properties. Imagine a crystal-clear winter dawn. Frost hangs in the air like powdered glass, yet somewhere just above the chill lies a realm still colder, only 4 degrees above absolute zero, where helium liquefies. No other element waits so patiently at the threshold of nothingness. In everyday rooms it is utterly invisible, odorless, tasteless, and 6 times lighter than the breath leaving your lips. Strike a match beside it and nothing happens. Helium neither burns nor helps other things burn. It simply slips past the flame, serene and untouched. Cool it further and a marvel appears. Helium, too, the superfluid that flows without friction, climbs the walls of its beaker, and drips like moonlight through pores too fine for any other liquid. Picture a silver bowl in starlight, its edges wreathed by a silent waterfall that recycles itself endlessly. Gravity has no voice down here. Even sound travels differently. Helium conducts heat so swiftly that boiling becomes impossible, the surface remaining mirror-smooth as it evaporates. Not all helium is alike. Most atoms, helium-4, hold 2 protons, 2 neutrons. A rarer sibling, helium-3, is lighter by 1 neutron and prized for ultra-cold research, its paired atoms choreographing quantum dances at a few thousandths of a degree above absolute zero. Yet whether dancing at the brink of quantum frost or lifting a child's balloon, every helium atom shares one gift: a perfectly filled electron shell that makes it almost entirely unwilling to bond. It drifts through life unburdened, as if every interaction were optional. Draw a breath of ordinary air, 1, 2, 3, 4. And imagine a handful of helium atoms joining that inhale, rising toward the top of your lungs, making even the air inside you seem a fraction lighter. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Then exhale for 6, letting the weightless element slip upward, back toward the ceiling, back toward the stars. 2.2 Position in the periodic table. Now picture the periodic table floating before you like a stained glass window of polished blues and ambers. Your gaze drifts to the far upper right corner, where a solitary pane glows a soft golden peach. Atomic number 2. Though hydrogen sits alone at the opposite corner, helium is its quiet complement, the first of the noble gases, so content with its 2 paired electrons that it declines every invitation to react. While hydrogen begins stories, helium finishes sentences. Its stability underpins neon lights, cryogenic laboratories, and the vast hush of space. Some chemists argue whether helium should perch above neon or float above hydrogen in a special alcove of its own, but the element itself remains indifferent. Placement cannot ruffle an atom that rarely chooses to mingle. Let your next breath trace the diagonal from hydrogen's restless square to helium's refuge of calm. Inhale, sliding upward along the table's backbone, pause at the quiet summit, and exhale, settling into certainty. The journey is only inches on a chart, yet spans all the chemistry between eagerness and poise. 2.3 Prevalence and natural sources. Widen your vision far beyond the table, beyond Earth, until galaxies spiral like slow fireworks in velvet night. In that grand vista, helium is the universe's second child, forged minutes after the Big Bang and now accounting for roughly a quarter of all visible matter. Oceans of it churn in every star you can name. In the Sun alone, 600 million tons of hydrogen fuse into helium each second, bathing Earth in daylight and warmth. Those reactions fill the solar wind with helium nuclei, alpha particles, that whisper past satellites and paint auroras at our planet's poles. Descend toward the gas giants, Jupiter and Saturn, where colossal mantles of molecular hydrogen laced with helium. Deeper still, the mix becomes metallic and storm-bright, generating magnetic fields that dwarf our own. Even on airless moons, helium-3 drifts in sunlit regolith, planted grain by solar winds, waiting for future dreamers to harvest it. On Earth, helium is rarer. It seeps from uranium-rich rocks as alpha particles slow, capture electrons and transform. Over eons, those atoms gather in natural gas reservoirs beneath the Great Plains, beneath Qatari deserts, beneath Tanzania's Rift Valley. When a wellhead releases the trapped gas, helium rises straight to the sky unless we catch it first, our only significant terrestrial supply. Small streaks escape daily from party balloons, weather sondes and MRI vent lines, slipping through the exosphere and vanishing into space forever. Hold one more breath. Inhale gently, sensing how even a few stray helium atoms make that lungful fractionally lighter. Pause as if levitating. Exhale, picturing the atoms joining an invisible migration skyward. They remind us that some treasures are meant to drift, that not every gift can or should be held for long. Float in that understanding a moment. Helium is everywhere and elusive, ancient and fleeting, humble in its hush yet mighty in the furnace of suns. Let its tranquil buoyancy lighten the mind before we journey on, toward the places where this element lifts dreams into the sky and cools the frontiers of science to the stillness of midnight blue ice. Role in the universe. 3.1 Lanterns of fusion. Let darkness settle like a velvet cloak and lift your gaze in imagination to the sun's amber corona. Deep beneath that glowing veil, gravity and heat coax hydrogen nuclei into a new harmony. Each fusion flash births a helium nucleus. 2 protons, 2 neutrons, paired so tightly they seem to hum. With every second the sun forges enough helium to outweigh the Great Pyramid 1,000 times, yet you feel its gift only as a warm whisper on your cheek. Breathe in to a count of 4, as though drawing that golden warmth across 150 million kilometers toward your lungs. Hold 1, 3, 4. Then exhale for 6, picturing freshly minted helium rising through the stellar layers like glowing embers in a hearth. In the cores of red giants the story grows grander. Once hydrogen is exhausted, shells of it ignite around an inert helium heart that shrinks, heats, and finally flashes into furious fusion of its own. The helium flash. For a few moments the star burns 10 billion times brighter than usual, though cloaked by outer layers so no external flare appears. That secret detonation turns helium into carbon and oxygen, seeds for diamonds, dew, and breath. Stars, like careful gardeners, use helium to cultivate the heavier elements life requires. 3.2 Architect of giants and atmospheres. Shift your viewpoint to the swirling pastel bands of Jupiter and Saturn. Beneath their thunderstorms lies an immense ocean of metallic hydrogen mixed with helium rain. At pressures 40 million times Earth's atmosphere, helium droplets fall through liquid metallic hydrogen the way silver beads tumble through mercury. Their descent releases gravitational energy that helps power the planet's internal heat, fueling the crimson glow of Saturn's polar auroras and the persistent turbulence of Jupiter's great red spot. Farther from the Sun float ice giants Uranus and Neptune, their teal hues born of methane but their mass still rich with helium. Even Pluto's faint haze glints with helium atoms released by solar wind. Each planetary atmosphere speaks the element's language. Light, inert, rising to the top yet sculpting whether far below through its gentle thermal hand. Closer to home, helium rides the solar wind, a stream of charged particles that sweeps past Earth, braids comet tails into luminous banners, and occasionally rattles power grids with geomagnetic storms. Every auroral curtain shimmering over polar nights owes part of its color to helium ions dancing along magnetic field lines, painting the sky in silent neon. Breathe again. Inhale, feeling that slow, invisible wind brush the planet. Hold in quiet awe. Exhale, releasing any lingering tension the way helium drifts from storm-shaken satellites into calm night. 3.3 From alpha particles to airships. Now lean closer to a quartz countertop where a small, glowing sample of uranium quietly sheds alpha particles. Helium nuclei launched at 10,000 kilometers per second. Over millennia they bury themselves in crystal seams until miners pull the ore to daylight and chemists free the sleeping gas. In this way, ancient stellar ashes emerge from rock to lift weather balloons, cool quantum computers, and coax MRI magnets toward invisible healing. Imagine, too, the moon's powder-fine soil. Solar wind implants helium-3 into every grain, a potential fusion fuel gentle enough to promise clean power for distant generations. Robots may one day sift that silvery regolith under a low-sun sky, harvesting a thimbleful at a time to light future cities. Not all journeys end in laboratories. A century ago, pale gold airships stitched with linen and creaking girder rings drifted over continents buoyed by helium's steadfast safety. They mapped coastlines, ferried mail, and whispered across cloud tops at sunset speeds that calmed the heart. Though most have yielded to faster craft, high-altitude research blimps still ride helium columns where jets cannot soar, measuring stratospheric ozone and photographing meteor trails too faint for telescopes below. Take one final slow breath for this chapter. Feel how each inhale lifts the chest as gently as helium lifts an observation balloon. Feel how each exhale settles you, the way cooled helium settles into Saturn's rain. Element 2 is the universe's quiet architect, steady lantern in stellar cores, hidden mason inside gas giants, faithful carrier of dreams across sky and science. Rest in that buoyant knowledge a moment longer, letting shoulders float, thoughts drift. Our nightly voyage will soon explore the places where helium cradles life on Earth, but for now simply breathe. Light, calm, serene, as if the sun itself were exhaling through you. Role in life. 4.1 Lightness in the breath and body. Settle deeper into stillness and bring gentle awareness to each inhale. The air that fills your lungs tonight is almost 80% nitrogen, yet a trace of helium is always present, about 5 parts per million, drifting straight to the top of every breath before slipping out again, untouched and unchanged. Its refusal to react makes helium the safest of companions, and physicians have learned to harness that gift. Picture a hospital ward at dawn. A child with croup inhales a heliox mixture, 70% helium, 30% oxygen. Because helium is far less dense than nitrogen, it slides through swollen airways with ease, carrying life-giving O2 where heavier gases would stumble. The child's breathing quiets. The rasp softens to a whisper. In premature infant units, the same mixture flows through feather-thin tubes, easing tiny lungs that tire quickly under ordinary air. Now descend beneath warm tropical seas. A diver in a luminous wetsuit breathes trimix, helium blended with oxygen and a hint of nitrogen, to explore a coral wall 200 meters down. At those pressures, nitrogen would fog the mind and oxygen would flirt with toxicity, but helium's light touch keeps thoughts clear, sentences articulate, fingers steady on camera controls. You can almost hear each exhalation as a ribbon of silver bubbles racing upward, faster than any diver could swim. Helium's quick exit from the bloodstream also prevents the painful microblossoms of nitrogen that cause the bends. When divers ascend, dissolved helium leaves the body so swiftly that joints stay limber and brain vessels calm. Breathe in now, 1, 2, 3, 4, imagining that same effortless escape. Hold, knowing tension can depart just as cleanly. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, feeling shoulders loosen. Even in everyday life, helium finds gentle mischief. Inhale a short puff and vocal cords tighten, shifting the resonance of speech an octave higher. The effect fades within heartbeats, but the physics remains profound. A reminder that sound itself rides on the density of the medium, and helium, ever light, lifts more than balloons. It lifts voices into laughter. 4.2 Subtle ally of science and ecosystems. Shift perspective to an operating theater bathed in soft blue light. A sleek white tube houses an MRI scanner, its superconducting magnets cooled by thousands of liters of liquid helium swirling just 4 degrees above absolute zero. At this frontier of cold, copper windings lose all electrical resistance, letting currents flow endlessly and images bloom in razor-sharp slices through human tissue. Patients hear rhythmic knocking, unaware that every pulse of data is carried on a river of helium vapor sighing through recovery pipes overhead. Travel next to a high Arctic research station. Meteorologists release a silvered weather balloon just before sunrise. Filled with helium gathered from ancient natural gas wells, the balloon climbs 20 kilometers in under 2 hours, ferrying sensors that chart wind shear and ozone. When the latex bursts at altitude, instruments drift back by parachute. The helium, too light to linger, glides onward into space, joining the slow leak of atoms that forever decorate Earth's escape plume. Even soil microbes whisper in helium's presence. Ecologists flood underground burrows with a safe puff of the gas to measure airflow and map maze-like tunnels without harming the creatures within. In greenhouses, botanists track helium as a tracer gas, watching its movement reveal hidden drafts that chill orchids or parch seedlings. Because helium ignores chemical temptation, it leaves no residue, only pure information. Look skyward once more. During total solar eclipses, scientists loft helium-lifted platforms carrying coronagraphs to altitudes where the stratosphere turns midnight blue. There, above most of the atmosphere, faint ultraviolet ribbons streaming from the sun's outer layers etch themselves onto digital sensors, teaching us how solar storms will shape auroras months from now. Back on your pillow, invite one last measured breath. Envision liquid helium rolling inside shadowed MRI pipes, weather balloons blooming against dawn, silent tracer plumes curling through greenhouse rafters. Helium touches each scene without clinging, an element that practices perfect non-attachment. As you exhale, mimic that grace. Release any lingering thought, letting it rise like a pale gold bubble toward the high quiet of night. Helium's chemistry may be minimal, yet its service is immeasurable, easing breaths, guarding deep explorers, clarifying inner anatomy, and illuminating solar mysteries. Rest a moment in that buoyant assurance, knowing the breath of the sun drifts gently through both cosmos and quiet human endeavor. Practical applications of helium. 5.1 Medicine. Cold hands, gentle precision. Imagine a quiet surgical theater where lights gleam like morning frost. Beneath the floor hums a refrigerator the size of a wardrobe, bathing its copper coils in liquid helium at -269 degrees Celsius. That super-cold river keeps MRI magnets in a state of superconductivity, letting electric currents flow forever without heat or hiss. In the control room, a radiologist watches crystal-clear slices of brain bloom on a monitor, planning a path that will spare speech and song. The patient hears only rhythmic taps and feels the hush of warm blankets. Helium does the heavy lifting in whisper silence. Across the hall, a researcher guides pencil-thin beams of helium ions onto a cancerous nodule. Heavier than protons yet lighter than carbon ions, they deliver pinpoint demolition with minimal scatter, sparing healthy tissue the collateral roar of conventional radiation. Each ion is a stripped helium nucleus, an alpha particle tamed into therapy. 1, 3, 4. Breathe in with the patient as the beam pauses. Hold 3, 4. And exhale for 6, picturing rogue cells retreating into stillness. Elsewhere in the ward, surgeons slip a wand of helium-based cryoablation into an arrhythmic heart. A quick vent of liquid helium turns to gas and plummets the tip to -196 degrees Celsius, freezing misfiring tissue into silence while leaving nearby muscle untouched. Moments later warmth returns, rhythm steadies, and the element drifts away without residue or flame. Medicine's lightest scalpel. 5.2 Industry and technology. Cool engines, quiet leaks, endless lift. Now glide above a coastal launch complex. Tanks the height of cathedrals glimmer under floodlights, filled with helium gas compressed to rock-solid strength. When countdown reaches 0, valves pop and that stored helium surges into rocket fuel lines, pressurizing liquid oxygen and hydrogen so engines never sputter. Seconds later the first stage thunders skyward, but the helium has already slipped out and up, its job complete before spectators feel the tremor. Shift to a neon-lit semiconductor fab where engineers in clean suits operate chambers pumped full of ultra-pure helium. The gas conducts heat away from wafers faster than any other inert substance, keeping microscopic circuits from warping as lasers carve pathways thinner than spider silk. Without helium's thermal hush, the chips driving satellites, smartphones, and heart monitors would blister in seconds. In chemical plants, inspectors flood pipelines with helium and walk the maze carrying ultrasonic sniffers. Because helium atoms are so small and unreactive, they seep through fissures invisible to dyes or soaps. Detectors sing when a single part per billion escapes. One pass locates leaks that might otherwise hide until failure. Helium's whisper preventing tomorrow's roar. Finally, descend to an ocean-going research submersible. At 400 meters the pilot breathes trimix. Oxygen, trace nitrogen, and helium that keeps nerves sharp and voice clear. Onboard gauges read a chill 8 degrees, but the crew's minds remain bright. Helium's low narcotic potential turns high-pressure terror into methodical exploration. As you inhale now, sense that clarity. As you exhale, feel any mental fog dissolve like mist in sun. 5.3 Everyday moments. Laughter, luminance, and lift. Open a memory drawer to a summer carnival. Children cling to strings tethered to shimmering mylar balloons, each orb buoyed by the same helium Janssen once saw blazing around the eclipsed sun. As dusk settles, those balloons become pocket planets, drifting just above sticky fingers and powdered sugar smiles before slipping skyward, leaving giggles trailing behind like comet tails. Step into your kitchen. Twist the valve on a benchtop argon helium torch. A sapphire blue flame blooms, precise and soot-free, mending a cracked brass hinge with surgical neatness. No sparks spit, no smoke curls. Helium carries heat but not chaos, a courteous courier in domestic metallurgy. Flick a light switch. Fluorescent tubes flash alive because a whisper of helium inside helps electrons accelerate and strike phosphors evenly, preventing the flicker that strains tired eyes. In upscale galleries, mixtures of helium and neon mingle to produce glass sculptures of pure white or delicate peach, glowing steady for years because helium neither clings to electrodes nor erodes glass. Finally, recall a rainy afternoon when someone inhaled a short puff from a spent party balloon. Their voice sprang up an octave, syllables tumbling like silver bells. The trick lasts seconds, and pediatricians caution moderation, but it reveals pure physics. Sound waves dart faster through helium's low density, stretching vocal harmonics into sudden hilarity. Breath in, hold. Release. Hear imagination replay that bright, helium-lifted laughter, and notice a smile forming even in the dark. Draw one unified breath for the trio of scenes. Clinical calm in superconducting silence, titanic rockets coaxed skyward, fragile balloons drifting toward constellations. Helium moves through each with the grace of a soap bubble floating past candle flames. Untouched, unchanged, essential. Exhale slowly, letting shoulders rise then settle, as though carried by the same invisible buoyancy. Practical though these uses are, each carries a note of wonder. The sun's breath-cooling magnets, singing leaks to engineers, lifting human sight above cloud and doubt. Rest in that wonder now. Tomorrow the world will call again, but tonight helium guards your dreams. Light, silent, steadfast. Curiosities and mysteries. Celestial curiosities. Close your eyes and picture the thin, golden peach glow encircling the sun during an eclipse. That glow sings in a single tone, 587.6 nanometers, the precise wavelength Lockyer and Janssen recorded in 1868. Astronomers still tune radio telescopes to helium's spectral heartbeat when charting the lost corners of the Milky Way. Its clear note slips through dust that mutes starlight, lighting a path where photons fall silent. Inhale gently to a count of 4, imagining that lone musical line threading through your ribcage, steady as a metronome. Pause, 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 6, letting thoughts drift along its quiet melody. Helium carries other cosmic honors. The universe's first true molecule, the elusive helium hydride ion, formed when brand new helium snagged a newborn proton 13 billion years ago. No earthly laboratory could trap it intact until 2016, when scientists coaxed the ion to bloom inside a cryogenic trap colder than Pluto's night. Holding it for milliseconds, they confirmed a chemistry that dawned before stars, proving the vocabulary of matter began with helium's whisper. Lingering mysteries and quantum marvels. Slide now to temperatures where mercury freezes solid and nitrogen turns purple ice. Cool helium below 2.17 Kelvin and it transforms into superfluid helium-2, a liquid so frictionless it creeps up the walls of its own container, fountains through pinholes, and spins forever in toroidal jars without losing speed. Physicists still debate how a macroscopic liquid can act as one giant quantum wave. Some predict that superfluid vortices inside neutron star crusts twist suddenly free, triggering starquakes that disrupt millisecond pulsars. When you next breathe, picture that silent fountain climbing glass. Then imagine the same physics rattling a star the size of Manhattan. Helium poses puzzles closer to home, too. Geochemists call it the missing helium problem. Radioactive decay inside Earth's crust produces far more helium than leaks from wells or escapes to space. Where does the surplus hide? Some propose vast, unmapped reservoirs trapped beneath cratons. Others suspect unknown mineral cages sequester atoms like fireflies in amber. Each drill core, each seismic ping is a question the element has not yet deigned to answer. At pressures found 1,000 kilometers inside gas giants, theorists expect helium to separate from metallic hydrogen and fall as glistening rain, gem-like droplets releasing heat that helps Saturn shine brighter than sunlight alone allows. Laboratory anvils can mimic those pressures for microseconds, but no one has yet coaxed visible helium rain in a dish. Somewhere in the future, a camera may film pale beads falling upward inside a diamond anvil cell, rewriting planetary weather reports. Until then, Saturn's extra glow remains an elegant hint. elemental dreams and sleep descent. Footnotes, anecdotes and fireside tales. On a spring evening in 1931, physicist Ernest Rutherford asked graduate student Mark Oliphant to have a go at fusing deuterium in a new accelerator. Within weeks, Oliphant watched twin deuterons unite and spit out a helium-3 nucleus plus 10 million electron volts of energy, the first man-made fusion of light elements, a candle flame for today's stars on Earth experiments. He reportedly celebrated with a cup of tepid tea, proof that elemental milestones can arrive without fanfare. 3 decades later, Cold War engineers needed a coolant for spy-plane cameras operating at the edge of space. They filled thin-walled dewars with liquid helium and discovered the film never froze. Instead, airflow carved delicate ripples across lenses that made reconnaissance photos crisper than any ground telescope. An entire generation of satellite imaging owes its clarity to helium's refusal to become solid, even when frost coated every rivet outside. In 2017, Tanzanian villagers heard what they thought was distant thunder but was, in fact, a venting test at the Rukwa Rift Basin, where geologists teased out helium from volcanic gas 20 times richer than any natural source on record. Children chasing fireflies that night witnessed pale flames flicker soundlessly above the test stack. Helium displacing oxygen so completely that methane pockets burned in eerie silence. News of the field promised to ease global shortages, yet local leaders agreed extraction must tread gently. After all, the gas they'd bottled was older than their oldest myths. Even helium's lighter, playful moments hide serious science. When professional caricaturists inflate weather balloons, they often add a trace of sulfur hexafluoride so the craft hovers at eye level for hours. Pure helium would ascend too quickly. The public seldom notices, but the artist's perfect float relies on precision mixing and anemometer readings. Helium teaching patience beneath carnival canvas. Take one final slow breath. Picture superfluid threads curling up quartz walls, unseen reservoirs glimmering under ancient shields, pearl-bright helium rain falling through metallic hydrogen, and quiet fusion tea parties in dusty labs. Exhale, letting trivia, riddles, and anecdotes drift skyward like tiny lanterns. Helium will guard them until morning, hovering just beyond thought, weightless and wondrous. Allow your thoughts to lighten as though someone has slipped a pinch of helium into the very air of mind. With each slow inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, imagine that gentle gas weaving through your chest, lifting the sternum ever so slightly. And with each unhurried exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, feel worries drift upward, loosening their grip and rising out of reach. Picture yourself reclining in a softly glowing gondola suspended beneath a vast, silent helium balloon. Its silken skin catches the silver of a crescent moon, while below, night-blued landscapes unfurl like a quilt embroidered with rivers of starlight. The balloon doesn't jostle or sway. It simply floats, held aloft by atoms that refuse to be weighed down by anything at all. Shoulders soften, jaw unclenches. A sense of spaciousness widens behind your brow, as though the very skull has opened skylights for fresh, cool night to pour in. Gradually the gondola thins until it feels like nothing more than the idea of a basket. Then even that dissolves. You are buoyed directly by helium itself, drifting higher through quiet strata where wind becomes little more than a sigh and the sky deepens from navy to violet to the soft coal black of interstellar dusk. Overhead, ribbons of ghostly aurora flutter, faint rose and peach, the colors of helium ions dancing along magnetic lines. Each shimmering fold matches the rhythm of your breath, brightening gently on the inhale, dimming to ember on the exhale. Out here, time loosens its threads. The moments between heartbeats feel stretched, luxurious, like silk being tugged smooth across a loom. Listen. Beneath the hush you can almost hear the faint, golden note of helium's spectral line, a soft, constant hum that steadies pulse and thought. Whenever a stray memory nudges for attention, picture it as a tiny mylar balloon you've been clutching without realizing. Release the string. Watch it bob upward on its own path until it shrinks to a glint, then joins the star spray and disappears. Now sensation narrows to the cool inside your nostrils, the slow rise of ribs, the warmth gathering in palms. In the distance, a newborn red giant star kindles its first helium flash, but from here the event is silent. Only a subtle blush of light, like a lantern igniting at some far-off festival. Know that the same element glowing in that stellar hearth also drifts in the microcurrents surrounding your body, also threads the magnets that image hidden hearts, also twines through every weather balloon sounding tomorrow's dawn. The vast and the intimate meet in each unhurried breath. Let the downward pull of gravity feel optional now, merely a suggestion. Muscles sink into mattress or chair, yet mind hovers, weightless, serene. If thoughts spark again, offer them the same kindly release. Another helium-lifted lantern allowed to float free. With each cycle of breath, this mental sky grows clearer, more open, until only quiet remains. A broad, dark canvas spangled with steady points of light. Stay here as long as feels comfortable. Should you choose to drift deeper, trust that helium's calm buoyancy will keep vigil, like a pale ember of sunrise held in the lungs, guiding inhalation after inhalation into ever softer rest. When words dissolve and only the rhythm of breathing remains, follow that rhythm wherever it leads, knowing the breath of the sun is cradling you, quiet, bright, and endlessly light. Now, as our journey softly comes to a close, allow yourself a moment of quiet reflection. Feel how each calm breath gently connects you to the element we've explored tonight, one tiny piece in the infinite mosaic of the universe. As you drift gently toward rest, picture your thoughts like atoms of the element we've visited today, floating serenely through the vastness of your imagination. Just as elements combine, transform, and quietly support all life around us, your mind now settles, combining peace with tranquility. Remember how every atom within you once journeyed through stars, oceans, and forests, cycling endlessly through the great natural symphony. Tonight's element, in its silent and humble way, is part of that eternal flow, gently sustaining the heartbeat of existence itself. Think of the wonder we share. This quiet exploration, this peaceful communion with matter. With each soft exhalation, you return the element back into the embrace of the world around you, an invisible yet profound exchange. You are part of this endless rhythm, connected in every silent moment, every restful sigh. Imagine the element we've discovered tonight, existing beyond time, beyond human stories, gently present long before us, and quietly continuing long after. It carries the memory of ancient worlds and dreams of futures yet unseen. You too hold this gentle eternity within each breath. Allow yourself now to float gently, as if carried by the element's invisible hands, toward restful sleep. Feel comforted by knowing that the universe generously shares every atom, every molecule, every peaceful moment with you. Let your eyelids grow heavy, your thoughts softly dissolve like mist at dawn. Know deeply that you belong, gently cradled in the elemental harmony of the cosmos. May your dreams tonight be filled with quiet wonder and peaceful exploration. Rest now, knowing you are safe, cherished, and connected to this gentle element, to this gentle earth, and to the vast, beautiful silence of the universe itself. Good night, and rest peacefully, embraced by the elemental calm of night chemistry.